thanks, Walt. Good to see you on here. Everybody, you can hear me clear?
Yeah.
Sorry for the delay there.
Uh-oh, who's that?
Is he frozen?
Darren, you froze up.
That's
Okay. There you go. Darren, now that's better. You're back live.
Was I cutting off?
Yeah.
Yeah, you froze for a second or two.
Okay, well, I'll repeat that then, just in case. I would like to call the meeting of the Kitsap Public Facilities District to order on Monday, September 27th here at 5:35. It's our normal monthly meeting of the Board of Directors. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Evening.
I wanted to start with a question at the beginning here for all the board members and just ask this question. There are things that our parents do that we say, I'll never do that as we're growing up. And so I'm asking you the question tonight, what is something that your parents did or said that you now do or say that you thought you would never do? And I will take the front on this and give you a moment to think. But I canned my second batch of pears this morning. And my mother was a canner, always loved canning. We had a big canning room down in our basement. I never, ever thought I would can in my entire life, but now I have canned twice in the last week, once about a week ago, and now again. The first batch was only like 12 bottles or 12 cans of pears, and my kids and I ate 9 of those in the first week. So it was a hit, and so I did some more this morning. So that is something to tell my mother. I thought I would never can, but I am doing that now. So next.
I think I've got one. Growing up and all the way through law school, I was always a night owl. I'd go to bed 2, 3 in the morning, get up, no problem. And I remember when I was in high school and friends would call me after about 9:30, and my parents would always say, "Why are they calling so late? Nothing after 9." And I was like, "You guys are out of control. It's 9 o'clock. It's not late." And the other thing is when they would work hard, but then on the weekend they'd take a nap. And I was like, "What are you guys doing? You're napping now." If I can get in bed at 9:30, I'm a happy man. And if I can have a nap on the weekend, for even if it's a 30-minute power nap, I'm happy as a clam. So I think I'm adopting the napping and early to bed and get up at 5:30 kind of thing that my parents did. And that was never me. The idea of getting up early in the morning would have killed me in high school.
Thank you very much, Phil.
I have one. I was embarrassed by something that my father did, and I said I would never do it. And in fact, I never have done it. When I was about 8 years old, we lived in a house, and we had an alley that ran beside the house, and it ran from kind of a busy street for about 2 blocks. And at the far end of the alley was a Catholic church. And so my dad went out one Easter Sunday morning early to hide my Easter eggs in the backyard. And he didn't bother to get out of his pajamas before he went out to hide the Easter eggs. And there were a couple of little old ladies walking through the alley, going to early mass at the Catholic church, taking a shortcut through the alley. And my dad was out in his pajamas hiding Easter eggs. And I remember they said to him, "Are you finding any eggs, little boy?" And he was about 50. And so I was so embarrassed by that. I said, I am never repeating that.
Too funny.
All right. Thank you, Will.
I'm right behind you all. I think, I can relate to Phil. I think I have to take and tell my friends not to call past 9 o'clock because it's past my bedtime. But that is not the first thing that came to mind. And I love my mother and I love my son. And I would like to preface that before I say this. But my mother had a saying growing up that she used very frequently. She no longer does, but she said, "I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it." And that was one of those things I said I'd never do. And I can admit that I have said that to my son.
And thank you.
So for me, my mother used to walk through the grocery store.
Recording in progress.
With the music in the background. And I was horrified like only a young girl can be of her mother. So I embrace that wholly now. I walk around the grocery store singing with whatever they got playing in the background. I'm no longer embarrassed by
it. What grocery stores is that, and what time do we have to be there, Aaron, to hear this in person?
Twice every day and 3 times on Sunday. Yep.
All right, Pat. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay. So when I was growing up, my parents were very strict about leaving lights on and heaters on and wasting electricity. And I always hated that more than anything. And when I ended up with 3 kids, I found myself turning off lights, complaining about the heaters on and everything all the time. And I said I'd never do that.
Amen. Amen. All right, Tom.
Oh, you guys took all mine. I can't think of anything beyond what's already been said, but I'll just add that, Darren, I've already made cider, I pickled beets, and I made pickles too. So I definitely inherited that from my mother, but I don't have the grinder that she had. She used to make relish, which was really good, and I miss that.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Tom. Mike?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. My mother was a sewer and all kinds of things, but she also was a baker and a canner. I didn't figure I was ever going to do that until my wife and I and the house that we bought in California had an apricot tree on it. And this was a heritage apricot that the previous owner had dragged through the streets of Sunnyvale from the orchard to where he stuck it in the ground. And by God, it grew again. And the first year we had it, it dumped about 400 pounds of apricots on the ground. And God, that was a mess. So my wife and I learned to be canners. But on top of that, I learned to bake. And I bake damn good bread because I have won the prize at the county fair for either sourdough bread or artisan bread for most of the last 10 years. And 3 times I've gotten best in show of the whole damn thing. So I got pretty good bread.
Hey, congrats. Once we get some meetings in person, I think that would be a good thing. You'll have to share your bread.
There you go.
All right, let's move on to the approval of our minutes. I think we got everybody in. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Aaron.
I'll second.
Thank you, Phil. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye of approving the minutes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Minutes are approved. We'd like to give opportunity for public comment at this time. We give 3 minutes of time to anybody who would like to make any public comment. Just simply raise your hand or in the chat or the question and answer, make some kind of a note to us that you are wanting to make public comment, and we'll transfer you into the Zoom as a panelist. All right, I'm seeing no raised hands, no nothing in the chat. So we will move on to our new business, item number 4. The first is a data sharing agreement with the Washington State Auditor. Brian is not here, but Mike, why don't you give the background to why this is before us? And I can simply say that Brian was in full agreement with this. There we go. Yep.
I have his email there as he reviewed this. This came from the auditor's office. Every year I provide a financial statement to the auditor of our financial condition. That gets posted through their website to be publicly available. So they are sharing our data and we are sharing our data with them. And so this is kind of a boilerplate agreement which says you're going to share your data with us and we are going to share this with the public. And everybody should be happy with this arrangement. And Brian has reviewed this. And as I stated, we have his letter. Says conforms to current state law, have no issues with the form or substance of the agreement. It just formalizes what happens now on a regular basis every year.
So can I have a motion to enter into this data sharing agreement formally with the Washington State Auditor?
Can I ask just a quick question? I think I asked the exact same one last time. I saw that it commenced in May 21 through May 22. Does it just kind of lag? The signing of it just lags the period of time that it covers?
Yeah.
Second page down.
Yeah, it came to me late, and it came up on last month's meeting, but it didn't get approved or didn't get passed or didn't get up, whatever the reason was. But Brian didn't have a chance to review it. I've forgotten the exact reason, but it's here now. And they're waiting for us to sign it so that we can get included with everybody else.
And it does say or date of execution.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. Number 3, period of agreement. So it looks like this lasts through 2024.
All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, John. And a second?
I'll second, Walt.
Thank you, Walt. Any other discussion on this? All right. In that case, all those in favor to approve this agreement with the Washington State Auditor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. I will sign that document and we'll send it in. Item 4B, demo of the new Kitsap Public Facilities District website. Mike and Cinnamon will be walking us through this.
And Cinnamon has just been brought up to our panelist, and I'm going to make her a co-host so that she can also share. I can either share, but she'd probably be better and faster if she drives. Cinnamon, okay.
Hello.
Hello, Cinnamon. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you.
That's probably okay.
No.
But I can put on my video. Hi.
There we go.
Okay, and you would like me to show around?
I can do that if you prefer it, but I thought you might want to drive.
Yeah, that's okay. Hang on just a minute. I get myself ready to do that here. Okay. And are you getting any feedback from me?
No.
Great. Okay. So this, I've shared my screen. Can you see it, the website?
Yes.
Yes.
And did you all have a chance to kind of poke around a little bit over the last week?
I encouraged them to do so.
I guess I might just start. I can certainly walk through everything, but if you all did already take a look, it might be nice to just start with some specific questions or thoughts or any questions about any particular area. No, it doesn't sound like.
I guess I'll just do a little preface. The website that we have now is 13, 14 years old. It was attractive and nice when it was first created, but it's outlived its usefulness. And so I spoke with Patty Graf Hoke, who was the lead on the original design, and the company, Interlock Solutions, was not only the company that worked with Patty to do the first website, but they have been a IT consultant for the PFD for the intervening period of time. So it was natural to engage Patty and to talk to Interlock Solutions to involve them in the discussions about the new website. They agreed that they could do that. And so this is the result. It's a WordPress based adjustable site. If you were to look at this on your cell phone, you would be able to see the same image, but in a shrunk version. And the text and pictures and so on all adjust to the size of the image on the phone. So with that, there's an illustration of what that would look like on your phone.
Okay, well, thanks for that introduction, Mike. Maybe I'll just kind of highlight the main areas. Of course, we have our homepage, which everyone will get to when they just enter the URL. Then we have the About section, which is more details about what it is you're doing and the event fund process. And to be clear, we've pretty much brought content over from the old site. So the idea was to get, everything that you've currently been showing to the public and put that on this site, and then make it a little bit easier to move forward with making edits and adding new content. I think the biggest piece of this new site is highlighting the projects and the different facilities in a much easier way, and hopefully able to better add pictures and things to really let the community know the wonderful things that you're doing. And again, this is hopefully will be easier moving forward for Mike to add pictures and anyone else who's helping utilize the website and maintain it. Then we do have a meeting section. And again, hopefully a lot easier for people to find the meeting information when it's coming up, other meetings throughout the year, and then also all the archives of old information. Again, hopefully just a lot easier for people to dig around the site and find what it is they're looking for. The news and PR section, the goal of this was to highlight news that's external. So these really are just links to other articles that have been posted. So if anybody finds an article that they want to highlight here on the site, then it'd be really easy to just add a little title and a little snippet and then link right off to the Kitsap Sun or what, wherever you may have found that news article. And then lastly, a contact page. So it's easy for folks to reach out if they have questions or comments that they'd like to make.
Cinnamon, is there a place, I know, under the About, under Board of Directors, I think one of the things some of us have felt is that, in addition to the public not knowing really what the Public Facilities District does, no one really knows much about us. The people who know us, but, this is just names and email us, and this is the district versus potentially, and I don't know how the rest of the members think about this, but putting something with our faces versus, and then maybe a short biography of here's who Phil is. This is what I do. This is what I've also done in the community besides just a face and a name. So I think that may personalize it. And I'm just, if once we're ready to do that, how easy is it for Mike to, or anyone to come in and reformat this section?
Well, it's definitely easy to do. What I find is that there's usually some sort of nuances in setting up a new section like that. So if somebody's pretty familiar with WordPress and pretty web savvy, then they might be able to set that up without consulting us at all. It's also one of those things that is pretty fast and easy for me to set up a template to do that, so that then somebody could just go in and plop in the pictures and change the text and that kind of thing. So it's not a huge heavy lifting sort of thing. The biggest thing is getting all the pictures and bios from you folks. That would be really the biggest project. And then the images, you can use snapshots, but then sometimes people have their fuzzy and so kind of coordinating to put your best face forward, really. And then we would need to crop all of those to be similar dimensions. And again, that doesn't take all that long. And if you don't have anybody in-house that can do that, then we can whip that out for you.
And Cinnamon, just a follow-up, thank you for that. And certainly this is an improvement over what we had. But one of the beauties of WordPress is that it is easily editable. And I'm so to add new press releases where there's already a page structure in place. And so is there training available? Is that something that Mike will go through or someone else? I'm curious about that because we do need to add, new press releases or new, change content about projects and so on. And I know it's easy, but there has to be someone to kind of show the way.
Definitely. Yeah. No, we offer training to whomever you would like to join that. And even before the pandemic, we usually did those via Zoom. And then, of course, now we're doing those via Zoom. And we can even record that so that when you have new people come in down the line that want to help, they could just watch that.
Yeah, and initially I'll do that. I've been doing all of the website maintenance in actually 3 different update packages that I've used in the past. I'm currently using Adobe Contribute, which is an older piece, but it works fine for the existing site. But with a new standardized format where everything is in the same font or in the appropriate font for the various pieces. I'm sure that I can learn that to start with, and we'll see what the new executive director's skills are, and we'll either be able to train them or we'll default to having the Interlock Solution folks do any of the complex stuff, and we'll do as much of the simpler stuff as we can manage.
I noticed on the bottom here that we've got an email address of admin@Kitsap PFD. And I know we've got the executive director and the M. Walton one. How many email addresses do we actually have?
We have those three, and I hadn't been using admin, but I'd asked Cinnamon to do that because I wanted a distinct difference for inquiries that were coming through the website. So right now, the only thing that will be going to admin will be the inquiries that come through the website. Anything else that comes through the site itself or the normal email routes. Of course, my email will disappear in the near future, and it's up to the new director and the board if they want to have a personalized for the executive director or leave it general. But that all can be decided in the future. But specifically, the admin was just for input on this page, so we could distinguish it from the others.
Any other questions for Cinnamon? All right. Well, thank you for your work on this, Cinnamon, and thanks for giving us a demo of it tonight. So we appreciate that.
As far as I'm concerned, the bulk of the work has been done. The content has been put into the new format, and I'm ready to put this up as a live site and to switch away from the existing site. And so I'm looking for a consensus of the board primarily, or a motion if you want to make it formal.
Why don't we just have a quick consensus is how I would do it. Is everybody comfortable with putting this website up rather than the one we have tomorrow morning?
I'm okay.
Yep, I am.
Yep. Oh my.
Yep. Please move ahead with that. Anybody else?
I was going to suggest at the end of the month so that
that's fine.
Could make sure that any I's dotted and T's crossed as necessary. And then the 1st of October, boom, we have a new website.
That's fine.
That is agreeable to the board.
All right, let's move on to item 4C, the 2021 budget mid-year adjustment. And Mike and Walt will be leading us through this.
Okay, let me bring my share screen up again. And that's going to be here. Okay, so you're looking at the basically the center column is the 2021 final budget that was approved a little later than this time last year. The right-hand column is the year-to-date numbers through August. Right below that is the initial loading of the 96968 fund, our operations fund, with $180,000. And I've highlighted the yellow areas where the expenses are going to be higher. a little bit more in telephone and internet, because there's also some Zoom in there as well. The work on the website, it may not be 8,000, but I wanted to allow plenty to finish up all the extra finish work with Interlock Solutions. Recording is down. Legal is going to be a little higher. Accounting is going to be higher. Bonding and financing is going to be down. So the net result is I think the actual number is going to be around $240,000 to $245,000. The adjustments that have been highlighted bring the original $237,000 budget up to around $268,000. That's the maximum that it could be, but in fact, I think it's going to be around the 245 to 250 number. As a result, I want to transfer $64,000 more dollars from the 977 account into the 968 account in order to provide for this $244,000 number. I didn't want to just go throwing money around without you guys knowing what my intent or the plan was about making sure that we got through the remainder of the year with enough money in the operations account.
Any questions for Mike?
This is Walt. I went over these numbers with Mike and with Susan Veach, I guess a couple of weeks ago now, before I left on my trip, and they all seem to make sense to me. So the biggest potential increase is in payroll, because for some period of time we're going to be paying for double for executive directors during the turnover.
The 2021 final, that was the original budget that we had passed?
Correct.
Okay. So the difference you're showing between the authorized budget at 236 versus your estimate at 244 is about $8,000.
Correct. That's in what the actual, I think, is going to be versus what the budget was. But because of the, we don't know at this point whether we're going to have a new executive director for 3 months of the remaining year or 2 months. And there's still some expenses that could go up or down. So I wanted to have the budget have plenty of room to be able to cover everything, whatever the circumstances. But my anticipation is that $250,000 is what we'll actually spend, but the operating budget should be a higher number.
Okay, so even if it's proposed at 268, that's still like double the difference that we're trying to transfer, correct?
Yeah, and if it actually turns out that we get to that, then the new executive director may have to make another adjustment. But if the board is concerned about that and wants to raise it up to the full estimated operating budget as a max, that's up to the board. This is what my recommendation is.
Yeah, and I think the difference on that is we've only transferred 180, not the full 21 budget. Correct. Of 237. That's why the 64,000 comes in.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, I didn't follow that. Yep.
Mike, on the looking at the overtime at straight time, so we budgeted 10. We are at year to date 19,577. I guess first question is, what's that extra 9 for? And then how did you estimate the 33,000 just to round out the rest of the year?
The budget, of course, was passed in December of 2020. And the plan for making a change to a new executive director didn't happen until after the first of the year. And it was at that time that I informed the board that it was going to take a lot more work on my part in order to adjust to that and make the change and to document the more than 30 different processes that have to be done in order to keep this ship afloat and balanced in the water. And so there's been a lot more overtime. It's not overtime, it's difference between half-time and full-time. And I'm averaging probably around 30 to 35 hours a week instead of 25 to 30 hours a week that I may have been doing before. So it's all an adjustment to the workload that needs to be done before the transition can be made smoothly as possible.
Okay.
And yeah, that's not overtime over 40 hours, that's overtime over 20 hours a week, which was what my salary was based on.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Any other questions for Mike?
I make a motion to move the 64,000 as recommended by Mike.
Thank you, John. Second. Thank you, Pat. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. All right, Mike, please make that transfer. Let's go on to agenda item number 5, our financial reports. The first one is just for your information to see where the revenue came in for this past month, which is it's our first time over 200,000, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, we've had a number of firsts this year in the, where's my fingers, recovery from the pandemic. Yes, it is the first over 200,000 at almost 20% above last year. The total amount collected so far this year is over 1.4 million. And this will also be the first year that we will finish up the year over $2 million in receipts from the sales tax. The debt service payment subtracted from the income, our expenses for the month, the net to cash for this month was 116,500 and change.
Hey, Mike, you've got the wrong date in that box. You've got January 21.
Oh, you're right. I do.
Yeah, we probably don't even need a date there since we know what it is.
Any questions or comments for Mike or anything anybody else wants to add in? All right, let's move on to item 5, number B then, our blanket voucher. The expenses for this month, $14,617.74. Well, did you want to show that first? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Wait, no, that's all right.
I cut you off on the monthly financials. My apologies.
That's all right. Oh, too much. This is the 968 or the operations. And this is where the $180,000 is deposited, and there's 57,000 from the budgeted number. But if you look down here at the very bottom of this column, the net income is just over $22,000. So we're not going to make it to the end of the year on what's in that account, which is the necessity for the transfer I proposed. The other sheets give you a position on the 286, which is the debt service accumulation, the 966, 968 operations, and the 977 holding fund. And that, as you notice down here at the very bottom, is at $3.9 million. So we continue to accumulate ahead of expenditures that will come against the projects. And then in the last sheet, is where we see the expenditures against the projects. Whoops. Sorry. In here is where the SKCEC, PERC, and Fort Gamble Heritage Fort projects, and over in the two right-hand columns, that money comes out of the 977 fund, and that shows what we've paid to date, $322,000, and more to come. Any questions? Hearing none. Now we can move on to the blanket voucher for the PFD expenses.
So, Mike, the number that we have on our agenda is $14,617.74, but I see that this is not the same. It's $11,868.99. So
if you look at the final agenda that was posted in the packet,
all right,
that number agrees. But
all right.
Yes, the preliminary number was larger, and that was corrected before the meeting.
All right. So then the new total is $11,868.99. Can I have a motion for that, please?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Walt. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Blanket voucher has been approved for payment. Let's go down to item number C, which is the blanket voucher for director's stipends.
And I'm sorry it took 3 tries, but this is the correct one.
And then can I have a motion for paying this voucher?
I move to approve director's stipends in the total amount of $3,200.
Thank you, Walt. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. And then Aaron, discussion?
I just was trying to figure out if this is third and fourth quarter 2020 and first quarter 21 total. Is
Correct.
That okay? Got it. And these are the checks that have already been paid, or?
That is correct. You've already received it.
Okay,
Yes,
just one.
that is correct. And
Thank you.
that's my fault because of the way the disruption in the payment process. I had submitted these in advance of the meeting, and then the meeting flamed out because I gave you the wrong information again, but it had been processed by the accounts payable and the checks went out. If I'd have been smart about it, I'd have held on to them and not sent them to you until after this meeting, but I didn't.
All right, let's move on to item number 5D, which is the project voucher for the Poulsbo Perk.
Darren, I think we all had to say yay on this.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Aaron, for catching me. Yeah, we were just in discussion. Was there any other discussion on that? All right, then all in favor of paying the blanket voucher for the director's stipend, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved.
And thank you for your patience.
And on to item 5D, the project voucher for the perk for invoice number 839. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. And a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, John. Any discussion on this? All right, then go ahead, please.
I was just ask, I thought we were going to add on here, and I see you put it on the financials where we're going to get a running total with these so we can know. And then were we going to ask for a secondary backup to that? Like what exactly are they paying, or do we care? Didn't we have discussion around that?
We did have discussion around that, and that is what we should have in going forward is a updated total of what has been approved and what where we're at, like a running total compared to that total that we've approved so far. So yes, I don't recall if we had said that each invoice that we will receive that we'll see the detail behind that, or if we'll just let the executive director go through that detail, because he does receive backup of what that is. So what would you prefer?
Darren, I thought we saw those totals in the financials, the last piece of the financials.
Yep. And John made note of that.
I did. And until we have a policy in place necessarily, I think it would be wise for the board to make sure that we have supporting documentation. If we had policy in place that would govern an ED in the future, I would be okay with not having backup documentation, but we don't have board policy on that.
I'm going to promote Shannon Thompson up to the panelist level so that he can contribute as well. Shannon and I had a discussion this afternoon and about specifically this topic. And in the at the next meeting, I will propose that Shannon take over the responsibility of keeping track of the receipts and payments and balances, as he's better at that than I am, I think.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that Walt and I talked about. I was trying to understand some procedures of the board, and so I think we need to get some things ironed out and those procedures. But for instance, some of the things that Mike has been asking me to review, I'd like to see updated schedules. I'd like to know for the projects so I can compare to where they're at to what you're paying out of these funds, which is imperative. I'd also like to see, for instance, design fees. So, for the Port of Bremerton, we've paid out $400,000, and I don't know what the design fee is for that project that's out there. I'd like to see those comparisons that are out there, along with an updated schedule, because I went through that schedule today with Mike to say, okay, well, the schedule says we're supposed to be pretty much nearing the completion of design development. And so if that's the case, I'd like to see some product, a deliverable for those items. And so I'll get with the Port of Bremerton to talk with them about seeing some of those things before we approve the next pay request. For this particular pay request, they are at 28 plus some change % of what you have promised them. So you're approaching 30%. I should be able to see some 30% deliverables at that point in time, and an updated schedule to take a look at that. So these are some of the things that I think in moving forward, if you're wanting me to review those documents, I need to have some substantial information from these agencies so I'm just not reviewing numbers and checking math. I'm actually checking progress and saying to the board that, yes, this reflects the progress that has been made to date.
Shannon, that's fantastic. And thank you. I do think that there's a balance, as we get these project vouchers of it would be good to know some detail of what is this for that we're paying this invoice. And then not all the detail of everything that you're reviewing and everybody else. And if any of the board members want that, by all means, receive that. But not to be, to have a 30-page document that tells us where the $8,955 was spent. So it's just information overload, but some kind of a synopsis. That's what would be helpful for me, is just a simple synopsis of where this fits in.
Yeah, I think that's part of my point, is that if we just had a board policy that we knew certain things and criteria or processes were in place, such as what Shannon just described, I wouldn't need that. But until we have said thing in place and approved by the board, I think it wouldn't be bad for us to see that documentation.
Each one of the invoices from the projects does come with backup material, and I have not included that for the exact reason that Darren just named. It turns the package into quite a bloated thing. I would be happy to supply that detail if you really want to see it. What I supply typically is the blanket voucher and the invoice from the entity. I don't include the 10 or 12 or 15 pages of the nits and picks of all of the pieces that go into that $8,900. If some of you want to see that, it can be sent to you individually. I don't recommend that it necessarily go into the meeting packet that all of you have to look at. If you want me to send it to you as part of the documents that come to you ahead of the meeting, again, I would be happy to do that if the board chooses that they want to see it that way. It does expand what it is that you have to review before the meeting. But if you want to see it, I'll send it to you. I don't necessarily recommend that it be included in the board packet when we do the approvals of the invoices.
So, Mike, are you and or Shannon reviewing that then and validating that the scope of work that was performed meets what we had budgeted for? And then also, are you also comparing deliverables to date against what was planned for, both from a work perspective and also from a financial perspective?
I'm doing about half of what you described. Yes, I do review all of the backup materials that contribute to the invoiced amount. I do keep a total, as I've published to you occasionally as you've asked for it. The totals, the running totals by invoice for each of the projects, and I would be happy to send that out to you again. I do not do the kind of analysis that you just mentioned. There's only so many hours in the day. Shannon has said that that's the things that he's expert in. and does as a regular basis on practically every other project that he's involved with. Shannon and I have not had as many conversations as we should have in order to arrive at saying, we have done this, we agree, and I'm doing this and Shannon's doing that. We had that conversation basically today, and I acknowledge that he's better situated and trained to be able to do that kind of analysis, to look at the invoices, to look at what the plan is and see if the performance of the invoices to the plan is where it should be. And he'll take over that responsibility in the future.
Yeah, Tom, I think one of the things that that Mike and I talked about today is, the invoice that I reviewed was the sports complex, for the Port of Bremerton. And, there's something that the you all should know every time you get a request for funds is, this is what our schedule was. This is what it is currently based upon the information that we have to date. And this is what happened since the last time we asked for money from you. There is a summary in that report, but that report it's gaining pages. And so some of the portions of the summary are irrelevant. I mean, yes, you've completed this portion of the design and you did that in January, right? Let's just say that's 100% and tell me what you did for the month of August or for the month of September, whatever bill I'm reviewing. It'll make it much simpler for my review and to communicate forward to all of you. And like I was telling Mike today, it's hard to do an assessment on the numbers that from the port when there's no deliverable to review it to. I can look at a deliverable plan and tell you if you're at 30% or 60% or if you're at permit set and what that fee looks like based upon the fee schedule that their design team has put together, which you don't have a copy of. So some of these things are the things that I'm going to be requesting from the Port of Bremerton so I can understand where $400,000 is being spent to date.
Shannon, it's going to be great to have your expertise. So thank you for that conversation and look forward to, putting this new process into place. And if it sounds good to the board, John and I can also talk with Shannon and figure out what kind of a policy we would want to put in place and how to, best distribute that responsibility.
Yeah, and something as simple as, do you want me to sign these after I've reviewed them and approved them, after they made the changes? I mean, I haven't signed them in the past. It's usually just been an email to Mike or saying, hey, yeah, this one's good. So, but I'm normally in a normal situation, I would sign them. So,
any other comment for that process that any other board members want to add in before we move forward?
And here is the signed invoice by Shannon as he reviewed it in the background materials today.
And 1 second, I had us that we had a first and a second, and that during discussion, John had brought up the question, but we did not take a vote on the pulse bow perk, right? Am I correct on that?
I agree. I don't have it written down.
All right. So is there any other discussion? And then let's take a vote. All those in favor of paying the project voucher for the Pulsable Perk invoice, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. And that passes. And now we're on to 5E, which is the Port of Bremerton invoice approval, which we've been talking about.
We got ahead of ourselves. My apologies.
Again,
before we make that motion, I will table it, but I think we need to add to our line of work as a board. We need some corporate governance on these policies. So we should add that to a future to do.
And just for clarity, I won't sign these as an approval. I'll sign these as a recommendation for payment, is what it will be. It's your guys' job to approve.
Last time we checked.
Just making these notes. All right. Okay, in that case, can I have a motion for the Port of Bremerton invoice approval?
I'll move to approve the payment of $58,990.70.
We're not paying. We're just approving.
Oh, sorry, right. The approval, right.
The approval, exactly. So, and then a second for the approval.
I'll
Thank
second
you,
that.
Tom. Okay, discussion on this?
Any more?
Yeah, any more? Okay, then all those in favor of approving the Port of Bremerton invoice, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, say nay. And that passes. And now we're down to item number 6, which is the ED activity report, which I will let you look at on your own, as well as the regional facilities reports. And then I'd like to move us into executive session. The board is going to go into executive session as authorized by RCW 42.30.110(1)G to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment. The executive session will end at, it is now 6:36, so I'm going to say 7 o'clock. We'll end at 7 p.m. All right, we will go into executive session. And John, how exactly are we going to do that?
So I sent a follow-up email. My email says it came in at 5:36. And so if you follow that link, you should be able to join us on our separate Zoom.
Okay, and then so we will each leave this Zoom except for Mike, who will stay here along with BCAT and keep the meeting open. And we'll go into executive session, and then we'll rejoin this meeting at 7 p.m.
Correct.
All right, we'll see you. We'll see you in executive session.
You forwarded the new link to my email address.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now, Walt.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have everybody back? Looks like we do.
There's 6. So you're missing 1.
I think we got everybody.
I see 8.
Yep.
Oh,
7.
I only see 7.
7 and Mike Nang. Yeah.
Hang on.
All right.
No.
Well, we are back from executive session and in pretty anticlimactic fashion. At this point, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
We'll see you at next month's meeting, everybody.
All
Good
right.
night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.